Hello, Culture Matters podcast. So excited to introduce you to our guest. Before I do that, here's a quote just for this episode. If you want to make a lot of money, solve big problems.
Mm.
Elon Musk, our guest today, a longtime friend and supporter, the Culture Matters podcast. And Culture Matters, as an idea, has been on the show before, episode 743. The title of the episode was Committed to the Customer. If you haven't listened to that episode after this show, challenge you to go over there. I believe over 20 years as an advisor and a problem solver for his customers, so they could achieve not only their potential investment goals, their home ownership goals as well. Both. And it's not an either or, it's a both and in the mortgage business. Someone I respect a lot, Jeff Winick. Thanks for coming on the Culture Matters podcast. And I'm so grateful that you didn't decide to just make a career in Domino's Pizzeria. I was
No,
re-listening to the
it
first
was it
episode.
was tempting. It was a hard leave when I graduated college and I didn't know what I was gonna do, for money. So I decided to deliver for Domino's, and it was yeah. I still think about maybe I should have stuck with Domino's instead of mortgages all those years.
I did the same thing. I was re-listening to it again this morning at like early in the morning. I'm like, wow, yeah, I remember delivering for three different pizza places. It was a more of a disparate. You went corporate. I'm sure you'd be running the company by now.
Nah, yeah, I don't know about that, but
But yeah, what an exciting is it? What's it like looking back on on a career, 2+ decades? The reason I ask that is there's many people listen to the show. The younger, especially like generation coming up, that career is they're not sure what that word even means
yeah. Well,
anymore.
let me not forget to say thanks for having me on, and I appreciate what you do and what you're going to be doing for us, with our team. Um, I tell people a lot that when you try to do too many things, you don't really succeed at anything. A lot of people, a lot of people are too spread out these days. Young, or old. It's like, hey, I want to do sales. I want to be a realtor, but I also want to, on the side, I want to sell something else, and I want to do MLM, and I want to do that. And what happens is you don't, you know, people only have so much mental energy in a day. They say that quote like, "Oh, everyone's got the same 24 hours." It's not really everyone's got the same 24 hours. It's everybody sleeps. So everybody has, kids or family or wives or girlfriends or husbands or boyfriends, like other commitments. So everybody's got the same really 8 to 10 hours in a day that they got to work with, not 24 hours. So, you only have so much time in that 8 to 10 hour span. So what I would tell people about the career question is focus on one thing as hard and as dedicated as you can without sacrificing your sleep, without sacrificing your health, without sacrificing the exercise you want to do on the side and your family commitments. Just focus on that one thing, and you'll probably more than likely make more money and be more successful than trying to do too many things at once.
Man, I want to go deep on that. Is this something that was intuitive for you in the beginning, or was it
No,
bumps
it's
along the
it's
road?
it's something that I learned over time. I'm not I would like to say I'd like to claim that, but honestly, I was not intuitive to pick that up. I figured that out over time. I figured that out when a lot of people left the mortgage industry right before and during 2008, and they were trying to do different things, and I stuck with it, and I actually did better, even though it was a collapsing industry. I did better for people that were trying my friends that were trying other things, and I found, and I when I would try other things while being in the mortgage industry, I realized pretty quickly that it's just not going to pay the same dividends. And I'm not talking about investing. I'm not talking about things that you could earn income without putting a lot of time into. What I'm talking about is when you have to commit your time to more than one thing. Like you want to run your own Amazon business or drop shipping business while having a full-time job, while having a side career, while being a parent, while trying to manage rental property. It's just too much. You'll be more successful just doing the one thing. And if it's a career in sales or your own business, which would be my two recommendations for a young person starting out, there's unlimited income potential. So try not to chase too many bright lights at once. Try to focus on one thing. That's what I did with mortgages, and that's why I've been doing this over 20 years, and that's why I'm successful because I paid my dues the first 5 years of my career. It's like when you get a mortgage, the first 5 years you pay mostly interest. Well, the first 5 years of my career, I wasn't making a kind of income that I am making now. So you pay your dues in the beginning of a career, 20 years into it, you'll do very well. And I feel like that's for anything, for anything sales related, anything where you have a potential to keep earning more as you grow.
What? So this is good. The first 5 years paying interest is that's like an analogy. You're saying, oh, let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah, I
5 years
mean,
paying interest, you're saying like, yeah, you start something, it takes time to build what? Goodwill, reputation, credibility.
education, experience, mistakes. You in my business, I'll speak for my business, and I'm sure it's similar to a lot that you're going to make a lot of mistakes in a complex, sort of, or either mistakes or things you could have just done better. And the first 5 years of a 20 plus year mortgage career, I made a lot of mistakes, or there's a lot of things like I would just describe it as I could have done it a lot better. So I look at how I am now, let's say over the last, you know, 4 or 5 years versus my first 5 years, and I do things very differently. And a lot of little things, a million of little things, and making way less mistakes. Not to say I don't make mistakes, you always will, but making way less mistakes and doing things better. And that's why I love my business. Like you can always be better, and we always have new challenges that come up. So I feel like you kind of pay your dues the first 5 years. And the analogy to a mortgage is like everyone's like, oh, you're getting a 30-year mortgage. It's a death plan. The death pledge, the word mortgage in French means death pledge. It's a death pledge because you're paying your debt for 30 years, and like the reality of it is the first 5 years you're paying mostly interest. You're not really hitting that principal down, and that's the analogy to this careers. In the first 5 years, you're not making crazy money, but you're learning a career, and you're getting an opportunity where you can, and that's what I set up for myself, and that's obviously this career suits me, and then a person has to find what's gonna be good for them and what they're gonna be passionate about. But ultimately, to me, the two ingredients are helping people and unlimited income potential is what I would recommend anybody looking for. What doesn't give you a cap on your income, and how can you help people besides just yourself? Because obviously the income part is just you, but when you help other people, that's when true. I think I said this last podcast. That's what true happiness is all about. Is true happiness lies in helping others. So when you can do both for a career, I feel blessed to be able to have that opportunity.
I think it was 5 years before even just starting a business, right? Not mortgage, but the
So there
first
you
five
go.
years were, I think, and that's why I think we have such a strong, it's always be in my story, so, inextricably linked because you were one of the beginning people to give me a chance and, uh, uh, wait, how do I say it? Pay for extra dividends for my mistakes and errors and like, yeah, right, like meaning, so yeah, I owe you dinner, buddy.
Yeah,
Um,
I,
uh,
st- I still use some of your tips today. I still use them.
I just feel, you look at reflection, you're like, wow, well, you were saying. I feel so much better than I was 7 years ago. And that makes you feel proud about who I am today, who you are today. I want to own that. Like who I am today, I feel more proud. Who I am today, like, oh, I'm improving, I'm getting better. But the 5 years, maybe there's something there that the listeners really, maybe they wanted to quit yesterday, and it's like, can I do it another day? Did I just start 2 years in? 5 years, 6 years before things started. I remember pawning first and only watch to pay the rent
Wow.
of the apartment that I lived. Me and Jenna were neighbors before we met. We didn't know. My wife, for those that don't know. And I remember pawning, like I sold the watch on consignment to a woman that asked me to coach her daughter. And then it took a year to buy it back. And my first watch to pay the rent. And it was like, I'm not buying another watch until this is not this.
Right.
So that was definitely in that first 5 year window.
It's a good metric, and obviously it doesn't have to be exact, but the idea is that if you love parts of your career, but you want to give up on the stressful moments, that's where you dig in and you keep going, right? If you don't love it, then you could pivot and look for something else. But if you love it, not just the money, but if you love it, and it has unlimited income potential, then it's like I would say, don't don't quit when things get stressed, because that's supposed to happen. You're supposed to have obstacles. You're supposed to have stress. You're supposed to have times you want to stop working. That's part of life. It's like relationships. You're supposed to have times in relationships where you're like, oh man, I want this to end, right? You don't really want that. You're just fed up in that moment. So it's the same thing with work. It's the same thing with their career. So I would tell people to keep going. I think people have very short attention spans. They always think the grass is greener, and it's not always greener. And the longer you stick with one thing, the greater the chance you'll be successful.
How much, yeah, when you think of uh 35 years as a mortgage advisor, how how much better, what do you think, what's that guy look like?
It's obviously each person's got their own situation, but the where it comes from, right? Where the advice comes from, because the first 5 years, the advice comes from, I want to make a commission. That's where it comes from. The first few years, the advice, it comes from, I want to make a commission. How do I say the things I need to say to make a commission? That's where it starts with. But then now, that's the last thing on my mind. Now it's like, how do I solve this person's problem to get them what they want? And once I get them what they want, they're calling me again before I even have time to remember and check in with them. And it's just an endless referral relationship, especially with investors that constantly buy homes and they see how the experience with versus their Bank of America's, or Rock. I don't know if I'm supposed to say names, but
Sure.
your major lenders, right? That they don't give that kind of consultation and advice, and they're not coming from a place where they really care about solving the problem. They're coming from a place of, how do I get to the next lead so they could make a commission. So where it comes from first is
Mm.
like, okay, I care about the client first, like like the first title of our last podcast. And when you come from that place, the advice is just totally different, and that combined with the experience of having made all these mistakes, right? So I don't make it again. How do I set up my appraiser so I'm within the rules. I'm playing by the rules, but I'm getting my client the best chance of the best value, so he gets the highest cash out. And then when that investor gets the most cash out, he can go do his thing on the next property, or her thing on the next property, on and on and on. So it's just being that much better at what I need to do, tweaking these little things, learning from my mistakes, and just doing things better, and caring about,
Mm.
literally, like, caring about the client more than the commission. And when you come from that mindset, it's I find it really hard not to succeed. It's very challenging not to succeed. It's just it's to me, and I just naturally follow up and naturally work hard. So those things are sometimes innate in people, and sometimes they have to be learned. But when you have all those, it's that's a huge difference from how I was the first few years, let's say.
What when you think to break down hard work how do you define it, or what um some rituals or habits you found? For example, I just learned today, I got some awareness around, it was a blind spot, how I've not integrated parts of my organized. There's certain parts of me that are organized, and it's how I've been able to do so many podcasts is organization and what you just said, like follow up and responsibility. But in my email, I just learned this morning, that's a medium that I personally have really not even realized opportunity. So, and I'm working on some tangible A, B, C. It came up with a guest. It was just totally, I learned so much from this show. I love it. So there are habits or rituals that you would describe or define within what you mean by hard work. How do you mean by that?
Well, when you work for a company and you got to clock in and clock out, and you're not working remotely, and let's just say they're a little strict company, you can't look at Facebook and be on the phone all day long. You got to work while you're there, right? When you're your own business owner or your own salesperson, you're 100% commission. It's all up to you to work during the day and not make excuses for yourself, right? So the first thing is to dedicate um, the 8 hours or 9 hours or 10 hours or whatever you're going to dedicate, to working, and not let life make excuses for yourself. Don't like You have to be honest with yourself. That's the first thing. So I could easily work 3 hours a day. Nobody's going to say anything to me. I don't have a manager who's going to be like, "What are you doing?" Nobody, client's not going to, no, I could work 3 hours a day, and, the only one who noticed the difference is me. So why do I work 8, 9 hours a day? Why do I get home at Friday at 7 o'clock at night? Because I choose to, because I prefer to get the work done in my mind that I need to do for that day. So the first thing with hard work is being honest with yourself. If you're not working for a company, you're working for yourself or your own salesperson, set hours for yourself and commit to those hours. Time block, for your business development, time block for not just working in your business, but working on your business, and hold yourself accountable to those time blocks. Those are some basic ways, and then obviously you get into the weeds, like you'd have to, I mean, I set a to-do list for myself every morning when I start, and every time I leave. So I have
Yeah.
to-do lists in the
Nice.
morning and the evening for the next day. And if I'm not finished, if I don't get through with everything in my to-do list, like I'm staying longer, you know, and that's by choice. Like that's just because I know this is what I need to do. On top of things like CRMs, and you mentioned emails. I mean, really, everyone should have like 20 to 30 email signatures, because you just saved yourself a certain amount of hours in a year just by having copy and paste email signature. Because a lot of times you're emailing the same thing. So it's something I even need to work on better is more email signatures. So there's so many tools, so much technology. Without even getting into AI, there's so much technology, and then you get into AI, there's even more, so that you can work more efficiently and never give yourself an excuse why you can not work on your business. That's, to me, that's hard work. Now that's not saying work 90 hours a week and don't hang out with your kids and all that. Like, make time for that work-life balance. But that's how I look at working hard. Like, if I gotta, people like, oh, I know you, it's getting late, it's 5:30 on a Friday. I'm like, I'm in the office. Like, I guess it's your mindset too. If you have a mindset that you got to stop working at 4 o'clock on a Friday, you're not going to be as successful as people who don't have that mindset and don't care necessarily what time it is. I don't care what time it is. If I got something to do with my kids and for my wife, I'll make the time. But if I don't care what day of the week it is. It's meaningless to me. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. On the weekends, it's meaningless. I'll do a podcast now. I'll do the same podcast at 11 o'clock at night on a Saturday if I don't have anything to do. What's the difference? If you enjoy what you do, then you make the time to do what you
Mm.
feel you need to do to get to the next level.
You do what you value,
Hmm.
values based.
Right. And
Th-
it's easier said than done when it doesn't feel like work, right? It's when it doesn't when it I it's yeah, it's work, but it doesn't feel like work. It feels like a career that I enjoy doing. So yeah, if I won the lottery, I wouldn't be doing mortgages this much. But barring something, an extreme example like that, I do what I enjoy doing. So it's easier for me to, bang out that extra hour at work after 6 o'clock at night because I enjoy it.
this to-do list, this is really practical. Like, is it like a piece of piece of paper or a remarkable or a computer? And in the morning when you get there, you're writing,
But yeah, I
hey,
do.
1, 2, 3, or
when I
colon. How do
when I
you?
first get in, I do the to-do list, a new to-do list because new things came up, and then at night I have a to-do list for the next day. So I have both. I used to do it on my phone, a little app to-do list app, but I just find it more practical to just old school pen and paper, right on the desk.
And have you? How many years have you done this?
Over a decade.
And that's part of your
I don't
ritual.
I don't miss important things, whether it's calling someone back or sending an email or doing continuing education or I don't miss important things from just something as simple as old school to-do list, pencil and paper.
I so it's so I'm always, after doing 1,000 of these, I'm looking for the simple things because
Sometimes
they're the
it's simple.
real things. Like 1,000 of these podcasts, I'm looking now. That's what I've learned interviewing so many people. It's like, what's the thing the person's doing that they 10 years of doing that, that could make a huge difference in my business if I'm not doing that.
It's just because you'll think of things too. Like I'll think of things on my to-do list, and while I'm writing, I'll think of more things, and I'll think of like it'll keep going, and just for me writing, and it just the momentum starts to flow, and then all of a sudden I go in the next day, and it's like I have a whole game plan. Yes, I have emails that I got to get through. Yes, I have other emails I got to get through, and I got texts I got to get through, right? I got all these things I got to get through, but I got my own to-do list. And sometimes I'll throw things too, like, oh, I gotta call my bank about a fraud charge that was on my bank, stuff like that too, that I'll mix in there, because otherwise I'll forget. Somebody charges $400. I mean, and people can relate to this out there, right? Someone charge $400 on your account will be like a fraud charge. If I don't write that on my list, I'll never remember, and then I just lost $400, right? So I'll mix in like, you know, real life like other stuff that I need to do, but it's just my own list, and it's really hard to miss important things when you do it that way. And on top of
I
that,
love it.
I'll have alarms on my phone, right? If I got to do things at certain times, I'll have alarms on my phone on top of that. And on top of that, I'll have reminders on the Outlook calendar, and on top of that, I have a CRM. So I have, and all those set of reminders in different ways with different sounds. But if I miss a reminder or I miss something on my calendar or something like that, I always can just easily look right on the desk at my to-do list. So it's just another way not to miss stuff, and it's sometimes it's the simplest solution is the best.
I've found that when I'm when I feel lost and I'm in the fog, that's something that I've done behaviorally to get clear.
Hmm.
So what a great reminder that maybe this is when I need to hear this. Example, last night I'm at Real Producers Naples and with Bill Ryman, regular guest on the Culture Matters podcast. And I sit next to, I think I was meant to meet Bud Willis, who I hope will be on the show, author. And he said 60 years, he's 84, 60 years in the money business. And he
Wow.
said, every morning, I'm going to use this guy like today, or I made the list 2 days ago, serendipity. He said every day he had a Rolodex that used to be paper. Rolodex used to be paper. Now it's CRM, but it's like you roll the name, it's got what business cards in it or something. And every day, whoever popped up for that day is the first call. It's like that was an everyday thing for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that.
Oh yeah.
Um, and so the other night I made a list. Who are the people I want to talk to in 2026? Um, to it's like to go to the next level of who I can become and to grow the company. And I made a list. There's 344 people that I need to talk to that are in my life that I've neglected at some level. I mean, not all of them. There's degrees of neglect or spent, but like, and you're there, obviously. You're in my life. Not 344. They're great too. It's not in like a higher.
Long list. It's a long list.
Well, and like Bud though is giving me a goal, right? It should be 365, or maybe it should be 1,000, and it's like you got to talk to three people in your life in a year. And then it's like this
Yeah.
exciting, like, I can't miss a year. But I love your to-do list because I do that reactively, not proactively, the way you're describing. And
It's
that's not serving me at the level it could.
it just helps me focus because I feel like I'm always all over the place with, my business. I have so many so many deals I'm working on, and so many things to do on each one, and then new things keep coming at me. It's like sometimes I'm so busy that, I get new leads and I'm almost like, oh man, another lead. Where I shouldn't think like that. Like I shouldn't be, oh man, another lead, because that keeps, that's the goal in my business, is to get leads. I'm getting referrals without paying for it. I'm not paying for marketing. But I'm so busy. I have so much business, that sometimes I feel like that, and not because I don't want to call the lead, but just because I got so much going on. So having that to-do list helps me psychologically not feel like that. Because even if I got so much going on, but I got 30 things to do, but they're all written down, and I could just look at them all real fast. For some reason, it just makes it less stressful.
One thing I do in my calendar that has helped me is I color so the today I'm going to interview and have conversation all day, and each podcast is numbered, and red means like, all right, we're confirmed. I'm going to prepare. And green, after it's done, I'll make this one green and I'll change it from confirmed to done with a check
Mhm.
mark.
Right.
Whereas it would have been tentative and confirmed, or yellow rescheduled, tentative is orange. Colors help me. But when I do the green, it gives me like I got something done and I can keep
Mhm.
going because I'm going to go for 12 hours or whatever. It's a lot, put a lot of energy to do a good job. It's tiring. And I
Yeah.
want everyone to go as great as they can. So I unconsciously had developed this over time to use the calendar to. So if I pulled up the screen share, it would be like everybody with the different colors, and then it slowly goes from red to green by the end of the day.
Well, it's
Uh,
psychologically, when you see those greens, it makes it makes you feel less. It makes you feel productive, and it makes you feel less sort of overwhelmed. At least with my business, it makes me feel less overwhelmed. I could have the same amount to do, but because I have a list of what I have to do, I'm not overwhelmed anymore.
Peterson taught me in his Maps of Meaning textbook.
Mm.
that the neuro the neuropsycholo the neuropsychological literature, um because he does a good job of bridging psychology and brain science in this book, that the distinction between anxiety and hope has to do with the goal,
Hmm.
like the clarity of the goal and how we perceive. It's like we're perceiving because they're the unknown. It's potential. It's like awe is, if you look at the definition of awe, is also a fear. Awesome. It's awe. That's awesome. It's a fear. There's
Mm.
no, it's known unknown. So the unknown, and so the anxiety, and it's anxiety and hope. And there's like really great diagrams in the book that goes into it. Yeah, I could find one.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's, I don't know where, it's probably in the back here, but there's a great, anyway, and whoever, Maps of Meaning is a really fun book to read. It takes a while because it's pretty detailed, but
You should
oh
check it
yeah.
out.
Yeah, you would love it. You
I was
you
a
would really
psychology
love it.
major, so I'd be interested.
Yeah, you'd really love the book. Yeah, for sure. It's more like and there's a great YouTube there's a great YouTube series, 12 lectures, that is really, really entertaining and interesting on this topic. But ultimately, hope, you know, oh, here it is. Here it is. Here's the picture I was looking for. You can see, if you're on YouTube, like, so can you see that
Mm-hmm.
novelty?
Mm.
And so it's hope and anxiety.
Mm.
And so, yeah, promise and threat. So, promise and threat. This book is about how to navigate conflicts.
It's
And just,
interesting
and
because
so
it.
one of the things you're doing when you're making that list, I think, is intuitively the ritual of um venturing, like the hero leaving the cave, or leaving the Buddha leaving the castle, venturing into the unknown with a spear, not nothing, and a shield, because
It's interesting because a lot of that list is being able to deliver on my promises. You talk about hope and promise, right? So it's like I'll make a promise to a client to reach out to them the next day, or send them an email breaking down certain costs, or follow up with somebody for something. Like, so most of that list is basically me following up on my promises from the day before or the week before, whatever it is. So then by writing it down, then I don't have the anxiety that I'm not going to follow up on that promise, because I want to have integrity, and reputation that I'm doing the best of I can with doing what I say I'm going to do, which is very hard in my industry to do that consistently because we have so much coming at us. So it's interesting that those are the words on his diagram, because I feel like that's most of my
wow.
most of my list is fulfilling the promises that I'm making to clients, to coworkers, to colleagues, to myself, to whatever it is. And that's what most of that to-do list is.
Hmm. Whoa. Wow. Yeah, that's really powerful. Well, I
Hmm.
think you're right. Our word, that's the bond, that's the relationship, that's the
Hmm. That's integrity. That's one of my core values. I was trying to think of the word from our last Zoom call. Is like integrity of like showing your client that you're going to do what you're going to do. You're going to do what you say you're going to do, along with the other core values of consistency and the other things that we were talking about. When you asked me, I was like I couldn't think of the word at the time, because but that's
ah.
that's really it. Is
Here's
integrity.
something you said at the beginning of the show. It was Confucius who said, "Man who chases two rabbits catches neither." There's a tension with, because there's only so much time, what we value. There's a tension. So I've not kept my word when I was beyond my capability. There's right now there's one thing that I need to get done. It was a loose thing on my word. Too loose. That's another thing. When I've been too loose without a clear, definite communication, something that I need to get done. And right now I'm thinking about it, right? Where, but I just set up 13 hours of back-to-back meetings. How am I going to get that done today? Well, it's going to be tonight then, right? Or tomorrow. But if I don't wake up tomorrow and be like, this is it, I'm going to go deeper into, oh my gosh, and then I can't sleep. So Nietzsche used to say, whatever the scariest thing to do, he would do it the first thing in the morning. It's a
Mm-hmm.
terrifying thought experiment. The scariest, hardest thing, do it right when you wake up. It's like, I'm not there yet. I'm not the Ubermensch yet.
No,
It's
I don't do that
Superman.
either. That's probably good advice. It's like when I look at my list, I tend to bang out the easy ones first, right? And then the one I don't want to do, the one that might be the most complex, let's say I got to help somebody write a business plan or something, like the one that's going to take me the most time, I might want to do that last, but maybe that should be the
Nietzsche.
first thing.
Yeah,
Maybe
Nietzsche
maybe
would
Nietzsche
teach us to do
has
it
a
first.
point there.
Well, this is one of the smartest people probably that lived in a couple hundred, yes, I'm biased with Nietzsche because I've been talking about him for a while since I found him. I found if I don't read him every day, I get it. I'm just a little bit more melancholic than it'd be helpful for me to be.
Nah,
So I have a bias with Nietzsche, but that's the advice. I got that through Dr. Peterson. I believe it referenced that a handful of times, and hopefully accountability from saying it out loud. That's a goal I have of myself. But your to-do list is a helpful medium to experience that.
yeah,
And I want to say one of the takeaways from this conversation is how the word and yeah, knowing where our focus or attention is so key because where I believe I've been unwittingly not kept my word is when I did too much, like you were saying in the beginning. When I've done too much, more than I've extended my word beyond my capability through excitement or idealism or some kind of hyper state. And 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 I have to I have to improve that if I want to get better. And I
like
like the focus piece the best.
acknowledging that
One
you
thing.
need to improve on a specific thing is always the first step, right? Because most people don't always acknowledge it, right? Well, I need to work on this. So the fact that you realize that as your first step, I would say that the other thing I would point out as far as a to-do list is I only put time frames on my to-do activities if it's very necessary. Most of the time I leave time frames off because if I have 30 things on my list and I only get through 20 of them, I don't want to feel bad about that. I don't want
That's
to
a
feel
great advice.
I don't want to
Yeah,
feel bad about that. I only got through 20 of my 30. I want to feel good that I got the 20 done. So if I have to do something tomorrow, I'll put must do tomorrow on my list. But most of the time, I don't put a time frame on. So like the thing that you said, oh, I got all these podcasts to do today, but I don't know how I'm going to get through it. If it's on your list, but there's no time frame, it's still on your list. So you could just do it in the morning. You have another day. We always have another day to get it done. So the whole point of the list is to do everything that you need to do and stay organized, but it's also to make you feel good about being productive, not make you feel bad that you didn't get something.
yeah, that's great. That's great feedback. Feel as great as possible to help what momentum to get more done.
Yeah, if you feel good and feeling positive, are you going to be more successful at what you're doing? Or if you're down on yourself that you didn't get your to-do list done, are you going to be less successful? Of course. If you feel good about yourself, feel good and that you're productive, you're going to be capable of being your best. So,
One thing I want to also acknowledge is that it's taken 10 years for me to come to the realization that I'm not as smart as I thought I was or I think I need to be. And I'm really just trying to be the best culture advisor as I can. And you said something one of my mentors has shared me. It's been a theme in different mentors earlier about basically it was like, Jay, you're like you're a bit you're down, they're like 80 somethings doing their thing, and they're like, you're not even you're a kid. Like, who you're going to be in 23 or 30 years, like that's who you're chasing, right? It's like, I love, yeah, you remind me of that today. I love the culture advisory, the puzzle, it's like I got to chase and be focused on that, Jay. And that's what's exciting, that's what's fun, and that's where I can keep my focus. Our fifth core value is focus for
Well,
the company.
you could be a master, and you're becoming a master at what you're good at, like culture, and your role, right? What you don't want to do is try to compare or judge yourself to others. So when you talked about intelligence like that, you shouldn't even think about that. It's not anything. It doesn't entertain. It doesn't enter in what you need to focus on, right?
That's a great
You're
thought. Yeah,
obviously intelligent. It's obvious. You obviously get all this knowledge from all the books that you constantly read. But it's not about, we all have to try to not compare ourselves to others, right? Because we want to grow with the knowledge and experience and intelligence, but you're mastering your niche, and that's what you're mastering, and it's not about how intelligent you are.
this is why you're great, Jeff. You're Dr. Peterson. That's rule
Ah,
four. That's rule four in 12 rules for life. It's compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to someone else's today. There you go.
yes, perfect.
I think it's over here.
Yeah,
Uh,
now you're
yeah,
gonna get me to read more of his
yeah.
stuff.
Well, yeah, yeah. Well, you're the psych major. I mean, yeah. Well, compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to someone else's today. I wrote it down so I could remember some
That
of it.
that that
Fun.
is the perfect advice that we all
It,
constantly, because we all constantly are going to do it, human nature.
it's a great book, 12 Rules for Life Beyond Order. Anyone that's interested, I did a series on the show, episode 907 to 921. It was like going through each rule of, and it helped me, grow. But even that though, it takes someone like yourself to remind when I'm doing things I don't recognize I'm doing. So thanks for the feedback. That's very helpful.
Yeah, and
I guess,
I do the same thing, and we all do it. We all compare ourselves to others, but it's not. There's no productivity in there, and that you know.
oh, so, in closing, best way for people to connect with you, and if you were to explain to them how you could help them, because you can help basically everybody that listens to this show is owns a home or gonna own more. Just please explain that.
Well, anyone that doesn't own a home, should at some point because it's the best first investment you could make. So I guess my phone would be the best way to reach me. You could also reach me on social media, but my phone is 267-969-0520. 267-969-0520. And then for investors, I really also specialize with investors. So I'm good at helping investors start out with not a lot of money on how to get their first investment property. And the experienced investors, I'll come in with solutions and programs that they won't have heard before, just for how long I've been doing it and how many options I have. So I'm really good at helping investors and solving tough issues, and helping first time buyers. That's really my two specialties.
I can attest for that. If you're listening to this episode, give Jeff a call. Make your to-do list to give him a call. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven.
But number one.
Yeah, yeah, number one, and then call him every week or so. But and oh, please leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast for the Culture Matters podcast. It's how we grow the Culture Matters podcast. And share this with a friend. If you're listening to this, give Jeff a call. Please leave us a review in the Culture Matters podcast, and we will see you next time. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Jay. Take care.